All right. So now that we dealt with this July 4th nonsense, right? Seeing that we were slaves July 4th while the rest of the place was you know, was independent. Uh let's continue with the video that we were watching. What happened here? It's giving me a commercial. Oh,
Prime
okay.
Day is coming July 11th and 12th.
1 second. There we go. That's what I want.
Workers would return to the dormitory, where life was often just as hard.
They lived in very close quarters, actually in very hot conditions and very cold conditions.
Its occupants are mostly
Can you guys hear the video?
Yeah.
Yes.
children now, but
Okay.
for 30 years, this structure housed inmates.
Did you know the Freedom Tree in Missouri City is where slaves at the Palmer Plantation were notified they were free? They were told they could continue working the land, but their only form of payment would be a share of their crop. The Freedom Tree is located.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to stop that right there for a second. They were told that they have their freedom and they could keep working the land, but their only payment would be a share of the crops. That would be their only payment, right? Now, I want to look at some scriptures that kind of show you that this kind of thing would be happening to us, right? Let's go to give me give me Haggai. Haggai's 1 and 6, Brother Chris. Actually, before you do that, give me Deuteronomy 28 and 17.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse number 17. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store.
Right. So the Most High says your basket and your store gonna be cursed, meaning what you bring home gonna be cursed, little bit, and your store, meaning your storehouse, you're not gonna be able to keep nothing. You understand? And look, we're seeing the evidence right here in history where they're telling our ancestors, hey, listen, man, you guys are free now, but to work the land, but you're only gonna get crops as payment, right? I mean, what kind of foolishness is that? Everybody else is getting wages, but we can only get crops, right? And give me Haggai 1:6 to add to that.
This is the book of Haggai, chapter 1 and verse number 6. Ye have sown much and bring in little.
You have what?
Ye have sown much and bring in little.
Yeah.
Ye eat but have not enough.
Right.
Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink.
Mm-hmm.
Ye clothe you, but there's none warm.
Mm-mm.
And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes.
You see that? Right? So the Most High is telling you, listen, man, straight up, you're gonna get robbed, right? And everything you put your hand to, as he said in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, your basket and your store is gonna be cursed. But not just that, he tell you everything you put your hand to is gonna fail. The people that are the stranger among you is gonna come up very high and you're gonna go down very low. What does that mean? When you look in the black neighborhood, the Chinaman has a store there and he's rich off of your money. You know, the Ishmaelite, the so-called Arab has stores in your community and he's rich off of you, and you don't have nothing. The Korean have stores in your neighborhood, he rich off of you, you have nothing. The Indian man, you know, the Edomite, and you have nothing. And when you work hard, the Most High say you bring in little, right? When you eat, you don't have enough to eat. You drink, you don't have enough to drink. You're always in one, right? You put on clothes, you still don't have enough, right? And you earn your wages to put it in a bag with holes. And is there anyone here that can't relate to that, right? You work hard, you make money. Sometimes you make a lot of money, and then the money disappear, even when you save, you know. And that's the condition that the Most High said we were gonna be in, because we're not keeping His commandments. And look, they brought it up right here, you know. They're telling our people, hey, listen, man, you can work, but you know, you're actually not gonna get any wages. You're just gonna get this food, this crop, right? And do you think Esau gave us the best of the crop? You know, you think he gave us the nice tall corn stalk with all the good corn on it, you know, the proper sugar cane with all the juiciest ones. You think that's what he gave us, you know? Or you think he shipped out all the good stuff and then gave you what was left over, you know? I know he gave you what was left over. You did not get the best of the corn and the cane sugar and the cotton, you know. Did you even get any of the cotton that you picked, you know? Let's continue.
Located along Misty Hollow Drive, that's between Glen Lakes and Lake Olympia Boulevards. Walter Moses Burton was a farmer, sheriff, and politician who served 4 terms in the Texas State Senate. Burton was born into slavery in North Carolina and brought to Texas when he was 21. After emancipation, he bought land in Fort Bend County and was eventually elected the first black sheriff in the country.
Are you registered to vote?
No, I'm not. I have tried twice, and I was turned down both times. Lost my job.
You had Jim Crow laws. You had poll taxes.
Yeah, you guys heard the hymn? Did you guys hear the hymn they were singing?
What was it? Blacks and whites together? Is that what it said?
Black and white, yeah, black and white together. Black and white together, marching to go and die. Bag of zombies, right? That's what they're singing, man. And the sister is saying she lost her job trying to vote. And we spoke about this last week, how the Most High say, don't deal with these people ways, right? Don't go put people above you that's not of your people and that He didn't choose. God didn't choose or design democracy, you know? So we as a people should not be participating in demonocracy. It has nothing to do with us, right? Because we know at the end of the day, whatever politician sitting in that seat is not working for me and you. He's working for Satan and his people, you know, putting things in place for the rich. Because at the beginning of this study, what did we look at? The Most High said in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2 that they came up with this whole law system to oppress the poor, right? And the strength of democracy is the law. Lady Justice, watch this blind woman, right? So presumably blind, but she's not blind. This is a trick. This is propaganda, right? Lady Justice is supposed to be blind and she have scales, so you know it's all about the feel of it. But that's a damn lie. It's not about the feel of nothing, right? She does backdoor deals. Judges already decide who going to jail and who not going to jail and how long for. If you're black and you're poor, you get no justice. If you're poor, you get no justice. You understand what I'm saying? Lady Justice is not blind. She's biased towards the Edomite, you know? And if you really look into the background of Lady Justice, she's derived from one of the Greek gods. Look, it even tells you here. Lady Justice originates from the personification of justice in ancient Rome, Roman art, known as Justitia, right? Or Justitia or Justitia, who is equivalent to the Greek goddess Dike, right? So when you go to the law of justice, this is who you're going to, man. You go into these people's false gods, looking for justice. You're going to an oppressor looking for justice. It's not going to work out, right? That's why the most I say don't engage with these people foolishness, right? Black and whites together, repeating the same brainwashing that the Greek been pushing since First Maccabees, the first chapter, right? Let's go there, brother Chris, real quick. I think we went there before, but let's just go there real quick, right? First Maccabees 1, give me from 40, just read 41 and to 43.
This is the book of First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse number 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to the whole kingdom that all should be one people.
What did he say? Hold on. King Antiochus, the Greek king, wrote and said what?
All should be one people.
Right. Black and whites together. But didn't God say, right, that what do you call it? All flesh consorteth according to kind?
Yes.
Right? Is that Sirach 33? I think that's Sirach 33. 1 second. Sirach 13. Right? From verse 16.
13 and 16.
Yeah. All flesh consorteth according to kind, and a man will cleave to his like. So the most I tell you, everything that alive group themselves according to the type of thing like them. And then he bring it down to the level of man, and he tell you a man is going to cleave to the people that are like him. And then he breaks it down. What fellowship have the wolf with the lamb? So the sinner with the godly. What agreement is there between the hyena and a dog? Take that in, because they're the same type of animal according to Esau. But even the hyena and the dog are not friends, right? And what peace between the rich and the poor? As the wild ass is the lion's prey in the wilderness, so the rich eat up the poor. Man, these are top secrets, coming to you from the Most High. If you know these things, you know how to move. If you don't know these things, you're gonna fall for First Maccabees 1:41. Go ahead, brother.
This is the book of First Maccabees chapter 1 and 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
You see that? Hold on. This is a precept for Revelation, where it tells you the whole world is gonna worship the beast and his image. That's everyone consenting to the commandment of the king, right? Because the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. The so-called white man rule the world. He is the wicked. Everyone is gonna worship the beast and the beast image. The beast is the so-called white man. Everybody thinks demonocracy is their savior, right? People, Muslims come over here because they want to free up and act slack, let loose, and The women don't want to listen to the men want to drink rum. Everybody run into democracy for salvation, when really all it brings is destruction, more lawlessness. That's really what they want. And they can't be so lawless in some of their countries, especially our brother, our cousin Ishmael, right? They can't be lawless in Ishmael land because Ishmael will chop off your head, the so-called Arab, you know. So they want to run to democracy to free up and sin it up, right? And they want to beg the West, democracy to come in their country and take over, right? So they can loosen up, man, and commit all kind of fornication, and adultery, and abomination, man. Man with man and woman with woman, they want to be able to do these things freely. The woman want to be able to get out of pocket freely, do what she feel like, say what she feel like, just like the Edomite woman. That's what they're selling people, man, right? And the scriptures here tell you, hey, all the heathen agree to the commandment of the king, because these sound like good things, right? 43.
Verse number 43. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
To his
and
what?
Sacrificed to his religion.
Okay. Go ahead.
And sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath.
Right. That's all I want there. Right. God called the commandment of the king, the commandment of Antiochus, the Greek. Okay. He called it a religion. So when we're talking about the mark of the beast, right, which is in your forehead and in your right hand, we're talking about the religion, the philosophies, the commandments of the king of Babylon. That's what we're really talking about. His religion is do what thou wilt. That's his religion. And he have different masks for those religions. And everybody accepted willingly, and many of the Israelites consent also to his religion even in this time. And we sacrifice unto idols, right? We love these celebrities. We worship white Jesus. We join Islam. Our women become witches and say that it's good. And the white man said that Obia was not good, but it's really good. It's just mass confusion as time is going on. The soup, the portion of confusion is getting more and more potent as time goes on. You have Edomites coming out and saying, hey, you know what? You guys are the Israelites, but yeah, God still loves everybody, and, we're all going to be saved. To put to sleep those who are unlearned and those who are, what did Paul say? Unstable, But we got to be hard-lined in this truth. Why? Because the Most High says there's one path to the kingdom, and it's narrow, right? And he said there's danger on each side of that path, and only one person can walk on the path at a time, which means you got to go in single file, right? And if you turn to the right or to the left, you're in danger of falling to your spiritual death. That's how narrow the path to the kingdom is, right? And that's the gospel. That it is what it is, right? So let's live that, with diligence, all right. So let me see, where were we? 1 second. Kind of went on a bit of a tangent there. What did you read before Maccabees there, Chris?
Haggai 1 and 6.
Right. So okay. You earn wages to put it in a bag with holes at the end of the day, right? This is happening to our people today still. You're earning wages to put it in a bag with holes, right? Let's continue.
And slowly you see things that are going back.
Oh yeah, we were talking about the fact that they were walking on the street singing black and white together when the Most High separates us from all people and he tell you, hey, people stick to their people, right? And that's a good thing. But what we're gonna see in the video is that they're telling you segregation was bad, which is an absolute lie, right? To be holy means to be segregated, right? And we're gonna look at that.
Backwards.
So the first way you see a push against.
Only you had Jim Crow laws, you had poll taxes, and slowly you see things that are going backwards.
So the first way.
So that was actually a forward movement, right? But the so-called Negro says, hey, things were going backward.
You see a push against Black political organizing is through the Klan. Thousands of people would sometimes show up to watch a crowd of people lynch, burn, and mutilate, in some cases, Black bodies. The people who were lynched were usually people who stood up for themselves economically or politically. Self-styled so-called militias were using violence to subdue Black voters.
You hear that? And I said this before. The most I tell you don't engage in their system, you go engage in their system, so he punish you. Brutally. You saw the pictures. But still we're pushing towards the same nonsense. Integration instead of separation.
By the 1890s, enough violent intimidation had happened that you have white Democrats returning to power in states across the former Confederacy.
The
fact that we're still struggling with attempts to disfranchise voters shows exactly why we have to look at segregation as this multi-pronged attack on equality.
So I want to address that, right? She said segregation is a multi-pronged attack on equality, right? That's the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life, okay? There's no such thing as equality, right? As we know from the scriptures. God is a king and everyone is under him, right? In succession, right? Let's go to what is it? 1 Corinthians 11. Let's see. First Corinthians 11. 1 Corinthians 11 and the head. The head. Now is that what? The most I deal with hierarchies. It is 11, but it was early in 11, right? Give me 1 Corinthians 11, bro, and from verse 1.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse number 1. Be ye followers of me, even as I am of Christ. Now I praise you, brethren, that ye remember me in all things, and keep the ordinances as I delivered them to you. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ,
right?
And the head of the woman is the man,
right?
And the head of Christ is God, is Yahweh.
Right. Right. So the Most High deal with hierarchies. There's no such thing as equality, and segregation is not an attack on equality, because there is no equality, right? This is an illusion that the sister is now making arguments under, right? If you know anything about scholarship, in scholarly circles, when people are studying, society and economics, they talk about a glass ceiling, a height you can't reach above because, you're just not in the inside club. So you can't get past that glass, right? The sister is talking from inside the glass, right? Mentally, she has believed the lie that Esau has told her, and now she's put herself in the glass box, and now she have a ceiling. Meanwhile, the Most High has woken us up and told us this is absolute foolishness. There's no attack on equality here, because at the end of the day, we're better than Esau. And if you're wanting to be equal, you're actually downgrading yourself. First Peter 1:16. Right?
This is the book of First Peter, chapter 1.
Sorry, go from 13. Go from 13, okay?
Yep. From First Peter 1 and chapter 13. Wherefore, gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Jesus Christ, or Yahushua HaMashiach.
Right.
As obedient children, not fashioning yourselves according to the former lust in your ignorance.
In your what?
In your ignorance.
So the sister is not her fault. She's doing this out of ignorance. Right? She doesn't know any better. No one's taught her any better. Go ahead.
But as he which hath called you is holy, so be ye holy in all manner of conversation. Because it is written, be ye holy, for I am holy.
You see that? So the Most High said, be holy, right? In all manner of conversation. And that don't just mean talking. Be holy in all manner of being. Be set apart. Be different in all your ways. Right? Because I am different in all my ways. I am holy. I am separate. I am sanctified. So you have to be sanctified, because guess what? You are a sanctified people. As we looked at before, God said he separated you from other people, right? Leviticus 19:2.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 19, verse number 2. Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say unto them, ye shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy.
See that? And then 20 and verse 24.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 20, and verse number 24. But I have said unto you, ye shall inherit their land, and I will give it unto you to possess it, a land that floweth with milk and honey. I am the Lord your God, which have separated you from other people.
And that's plain, right? Let's continue.
Dr. Martin Luther King's second day of civil rights testing in Selma, Alabama started off smoothly enough. But when the would-be registrants and those who accompanied them arrived at the Dallas County Courthouse, it was a different story.
Segregation was labeled separate but equal, but was far from it. Religious leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Fred Shuttleworth, and Houston's Reverend Bill Lawson began to help in protest against it.
The movement spreads across the South. Students at Texas Southern University especially begin to boycott and then gain allies, in some cases from white students from nearby colleges.
13 of them to be.
So this is you know, where it says many consented unto his religion. This is Israel consenting unto the religion of Esau. You know, they have accepted, hey, listen, this is a gross injustice to be separated from Esau. So now we're gonna fight to be in Esau's bosom. And oh, now we have allies that are Edomites that are helping us to fight for what's right. Utter and total confusion, you know.
Precise. On March 4th, 1960, they marched, but they went to the lunch counters at the wine garden.
Sorry, here's a brother begging here with a sign. On the battlefield, they call us Americans. Are you American, brother? Are you Canadian? Are we Bajans and St. Lucians? And we're the children of Israel, man. God's holy people. The brother said on the battlefield, they call us Americans. He's taking time, maybe from work, because he look like he have a job, to protest and say he's an American, man. And he came here in bands on a slave ship, you know, not so long ago. You know, it's so crazy and sad to see, man, the destruction of our people by destroying the mind. You know, these are the things that happen. Again, you put that glass ceiling. The glass ceiling is you obeying the commandments of the king. That's the glass ceiling. Because once you obey the commandments of the king, your whole life happens under the glass ceiling, under the commandment of the king. Right? But once you realize, yo, the Most High is the King of Kings, you can pull the carpet from under these people's feet. We would have been happy with segregation. We would have been happy to do our own thing, get our own banks, our own schools going. And if they come and attack us like we know that they did, we just leave the damn country, right? But Israel has not gained, even in 2023, the correct mind. Most of Israel still has the wrong mindset and still want to integrate with the devil and still want to be equal with people that they are better than, you know? Let's go
on Alameda, and they sat and they sat. And so they initiated the civil rights movement in Houston, Texas.
The support and mentorship of Reverend Lawson and other folks was especially significant because in some cases, the older generation sometimes agreed more with the strategies of the NAACP, who were using the courts and using the law. Because it's important to remember that technically sit-ins are illegal.
They know that what they are doing could potentially put them in danger. They're thinking about the injustices that their parents have faced, that their relatives face. They're thinking about the injustice that they themselves are facing in a world that is supposed to be separate and equal, but is everything but equal. Well, historically, Black colleges and universities, their history is related to the fact that our nation was not ready for people of African descent to study with white Americans.
Prairie View A&M is a direct result of Juneteenth. Those individuals who heard that message that day, they went forth with the zeal and the fervor to realize what an education could do for emancipated blacks. Most importantly, now you have individuals who could not read, who could not write, that came and got remedial lessons here and could go back out into their communities to be productive people.
I chose TSU because there was a sense of belonging that I felt when I walked on the campus. It felt like family, it felt like home, and it gave me a feeling of purpose and that I was destined to be here for a specific reason.
And we know that Prairie View produces productive people. And that's one of the mottos here at this school, and it's very much tied back to that same group, that first generation who came here who studied, who thrived, and sought to make their communities better.
And as a little girl, to me, the building, Hannah Hall, was colossal. Little did I know that one day I would have the opportunity to teach at this school. This institution has been a beacon of light to people in the community.
You see what happens when you do your own thing? You know, the girl literally said she felt like she was home as soon as she stepped on the campus. You know, that's what happens when you do your own thing. You are home, you know, because it's your people and they actually care about you, you know.
When it came to primary education, the Gregory Institute became the high school for Houston's black children in the 1870s. At one point, it was the only high school for black students. In 1871, Harris County had the largest number of black students in school in Texas, with 734 males and 760 females. The Gregory School is now home to the African American Library. After years of fighting and debate, Betsy Ross Elementary became the first public school in Houston to integrate. The year, 1960. But even as the Houston School District began to eliminate segregation, there was pushback from white parents, as shown here in a 1970 New York Times article.
Family, what do you guys know the 1970s as in popular media? A time of what?
Isn't that the peace love era?
Yeah, peace, love, hippies, you know, right? That era. And during that era, Edomites are still like, yo, I don't want my kids going to school with these kids, right? So while they're advertising that, in reality, they're still like, man, I don't want to deal with you people. And Israel is still busy begging and integrating, right? It's like we're just not learning the lesson, you know? And it's sad. It's a sad situation, you know? Anyway.
You know, it's really amazing how this area, this park, has blossomed and transformed in this community.
It is incredible when you think about the history of Emancipation Park. You know, there was a time when this was the only park that blacks in Houston could come to.
And today we've seen people of all colors here.
All colors, all races, all religions, enjoying the city, enjoying the park together.
Yeah.
You see that? Do you see what they're working hard for? Oh, oh, it's so sad to see, man. Oh, people just working hard to fulfill First Maccabees, chapter 1, 41 to 49. Working hard to fulfill the king of Greece, the king of Babylon's commandment that we should all be one people under his law instead of the laws of the Most High God. And they're proud to do it. Crazy, man.
Park for all.
A park for all. What do you think your great-grandfather, who purchased this property to create Emancipation Park, would think of what is happening on this site today?
I'm sure he probably never thought about, would this be continued 100 years later, 150 years later? But I think he would be extremely proud to know that the citizens of Houston, Texas have continued to celebrate the Juneteenth.
Emancipation Park remains a pillar in the black community, just as it did when it opened in 1872. From playgrounds, basketball courts, a theater, and the arts, it celebrates a rich history while educating the next generation. But getting that education in schools has not been easy.
I think it's just a history that some people are still so uncomfortable talking about.
We always knew what Juneteenth was. The rest of the country did not.
Before they get too much into the next topic here, I want to address you know, our the little snippet that we just saw of our brother and sister talking about how good it is, you know, that now this particular place that we built is now a park for everyone. That was never the problem. The problem was, you know, people didn't want you around, right? And your solution is, oh, they didn't want us around, so now we built a park for everyone. Does that make any sense? If somebody doesn't want me around, I'm gonna celebrate getting my own place. I'm not gonna celebrate getting a place for now, me and them. Do you guys see the actual insanity in the thought process that has been embedded in our people? Family, do you guys see what's going on here?
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 30.
A verse?
14.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, and verse number 14. All thy lovers have forgotten thee. They seek thee not, for I have wounded thee with the wound of an enemy, with the chastisement of a cruel one, for the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased.
Right. So the most I tell you, hey, listen, all your lovers forgot you, man. These people that you're following after, they don't give a damn about you, right? Because your sins were increased, I wound you with the wound of an enemy, right? And I chastise you with the chastisement of a cruel one. Now let's look at this word chastisement real quick, right? Severe criticism, rebuke, strong reprimand, right? There's some other definitions I want here. Where is it? Let's see what they have at thesaurus.com. I like etymology. Etymology. It's a good website. And they keep changing word meanings, but it's a good website to kind of tell you where the word comes from. Pain and suffering inflicted for punishment or correction, right? There's also one of the meanings, if I remember correctly, where it's like the person basically reject you, you know. Correct, set right, purify, chastisement, punish. Uh, you guys know the context. It's a fairly modern context when somebody says, "Oh, that person was chastised from society." Yeah, meaning they were put aside, um you know, and rejected. Let's see. Synonyms, chastise synonyms. Scold, upbraid, berate, reprimand, rebuke, admonish, chide, censure, castigate, lambaste, lecture, criticize, pull up. Let's see here. Okay, perhaps I was mistaken with the definition. of the word. Let's go to because we know, I mean, we know the Most High disciplined us, but what I wanted to get at is that, you know, you were also basically rejected, you know, from these people's society. And we see that through the Jim Crow laws, right? But I wanted to show that in the scriptures, and it's there, just not in this particular word. But the Most High tells you, all your lovers forgot you, man. They seek you not. They don't want nothing to do with you, right? Why? Because I wound you with the wound of an enemy. I made you base because you didn't want to keep my commandments, you know? Jeremiah 4 and verse 30.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 4 and verse number 30. And when thou art spoiled, what wilt thou do? Though thou clothest thyself with crimson, though thou deckest thee with ornaments of gold, though thou rentest thy face with painting, in vain shalt thou make thyself fair. Thy lovers will despise thee. They will seek thy life.
You hear that? And that's plain, right? God said, what are you gonna do when you get robbed? When you put in all your earnings into a bag with holes, right? The Most High say, even if you pretty up yourself, no matter how you pretty up yourself, like these two news anchors, and you make documentaries to try to tell people that Juneteenth is a good thing, the Most High said, your lovers are still gonna despise you. Not only that, they're gonna seek your life. Their aim will be to kill you, right? And we see exactly that happening to our people. How many documentaries have we made like this? You know, how many shows have we made on integration? How many biographies? How many speakers, you know, leaders have come and talked about integration and allyship and all of this absolute foolishness, you know, that are under the commandments of the king and demonocracy and display that you have the mind, which is the mark of the damn beast. How has this profited our people at all? You know, it hasn't. Because guess what? Today, they still seek your life. Somebody black died today at the hands of police officers. And yesterday, and somebody gonna die tomorrow, and the day after that too. Right? Because you're begging your enemy for mercy. You know, and he don't have none. Because he's the people of the Prince of Darkness. You know. I remember Doeg the Edomite. I wonder if we have some time to look at Doeg. There was a time when we put some this Edomite uh 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 to serve us, and I believe it was Saul wanted a bunch of the priests in Israel to be killed, and no one would do it except Doeg the Edomite. Doeg the Edomite said, I will kill the priests. And he did it. Right? So it shows you that the spirit of these people towards you, you know, while you're begging for friend. Right? Yahweh Shai did not beg friend in Luke the fourth chapter. No, it was Luke the fourth chapter. You know. No, that is not Luke the fourth chapter. When he was dealing with the Edomite woman and he ignored her completely, you know, he wasn't begging friend. His disciples say, hey, get rid of this Edomite, you know. Now, did it say that word for word? No, but we know the woman was an Edomite. And Christ ignored her, and his disciples said, hey, chase this woman away. Mark 7. Mark 7:26. The woman was a Greek, a Syro-Phoenician by nation, and she besought him that he would cast forth the devil of her daughter. But Yahushua said unto her, let the children first be filled. For it is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to the dogs. And when you look at this same account in another book, it tells you that he didn't even speak to her, right? Let's see. Let's bring it up. Matthew 15. His disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away. Matthew 15, let's see here, from 22. And the Canaanite woman from that region, from what region? Tyre and Zidon. Okay, Canaanite, it says Canaanite woman here, but really she was a Greek, as we learned from Mark, right? Came from the region to him, crying out, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me, my daughter is miserably possessed by a demon. Let's see, just switch to the KJV here. But he answered her not a word. You see that? He answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she crieth after us. Right? So Yahushua was not begging no friend. Right? Give me 1 Samuel, brother, 22.
Verse? 1 Samuel 22 and...
Go from 16.
16?
Yeah.
This is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 22, and verse number 16. And the king said, thou shalt surely die, Ahimelech, thou and all thy father's house. And the king said unto the footmen that stood about him, turn and slay the priests of the Lord, because their hand also is with David, and because they knew when he fled and did not show it to me.
So stop right there. Saul said to his footmen, right, his soldiers, kill the priests. This is plural. Kill the priests of Yahweh because they helped David, right? Let's see what they did. Go ahead.
But the servants of the king would not put forth their hand to fall upon the priests of the Lord. And the king said to Doeg, turn thou and fall upon the priest. And Doeg the Edomite turned, and he fell upon the priest and slew on that day 85 persons.
That's 85, that's 85 priests he killed. Go ahead.
That did wear the linen ephod.
Right. Well, read on.
Continue. And Nob, the city of the priests, smote he with the edge of the sword both men and women, children and sucklings, and oxen and asses and sheep with the edge of the sword. And one of the sons of Ahimelech, the son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after David. And Abiathar showed David that Saul had slain the Lord's priests.
Go stop right there, right? So the Israelites didn't dare put their hand on the priests of the Lord, man. Right? But Doeg the Edomite killed everybody. Men, women, children, and sucklings. That's babies on the breast. He killed the ox, he killed the ass, he killed the sheep, he killed everything. Gladly. You know? Because he's the enemy of the Most High God. And he don't rate the Most High God. He don't respect him at all. The brothers, even though they was David's enemies, they said, "Not me. I'm not killing no priest, man. Sorry." But Doeg, he's on it. Yeah, get to kill some Israelites, you know. And he did a number.
David said he knew it too. In verse number 22, it says, and David said unto Abiathar, I knew it that day when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Saul, I have occasioned the death of all the persons of thy father's house.
Yeah, you see, so
David knew he should have killed the man when he saw him there.
When he saw him with Himelech,
yeah,
he knew. He's like, yo, this guy's gonna squeal. Why? Why? How you know he's gonna squeal? You know, David and them were not confused as to who their enemy was. You know, remember when he came a day from the slaughter of the Edomites? You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, before they got into their thing, I wanted to look at that. Now, where was I before here? 1 second. And you read Jeremiah, yeah. No matter how you pretty up yourself, your lover's still gonna hate you. So that's what we're seeing here. An example of Israel. This is the general attitude in Israel, man. Israel is trying their best to get their enemy as their friend, to seat their enemy at their right hand, and get acceptance. But God say, yo, no matter what you do, this man will seek your life. And have we not seen this come to fruition in real life? You know, I certainly have, you know. And so I believe the words of the Lord, you know. All right. That's just what I want to just bring that out before they got into this last section.
Juneteenth isn't taught in American history. Juneteenth isn't taught in our school, in our public school system.
I guess within the last 30 years that I've learned really about a lot about Juneteenth. Attending segregated schools, we just didn't have a lot of information about slavery, and if it was presented, it was presented in such a watered down way. We knew the significance of Galveston to Juneteenth, or the freeing of the slaves.
Juneteenth is so important, and it's funny, I didn't learn about it fully until I got to college, and at this HBCU that I learned about it.
As a former longtime educator, how important is that for students to be presented that information in their general education?
It's America's history. We hear the stories of immigrants coming to the United States. We hear about why they wanted to leave or why they want to be here. And everything that happens in the United States is United States history.
All Americans need to understand when and how slaves were freed in the state of Texas.
I know that in my own class, when I'm teaching in the summer, I make sure that we do a focus on Juneteenth and we celebrate the day so that students are aware of the significance of the day and also of the significance of TSU in continuing the message of Juneteenth.
It's a huge problem not teaching youth about the history. When you go back and you say, this didn't happen, then a young person will be like, oh, so what's their problem? That never happened. So then you create more of a division between cultures.
I want to address this little part here where our brother Malcolm X. 1 second, eh? Yeah, I want to just address this little part here. It's good that they teach the history in school, but the fact that they're having them celebrate Juneteenth is obviously a bag of stupidness, right? Because they're not free, right? Um, uh, and this quote here by Malcolm X is also foolishness, right? And if we go to Baruch 4, go to Baruch 4 for me, please, brother, for Chris.
Yep.
And uh, let's read verse 1 and 2. So before you read that, he says, education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. Sounds really nice, but is that true? Well, no, right? Go ahead.
This is the book of Baruch, chapter 4, and verse number 1. This is the book of the commandments of Yahweh, and the law that endureth forever. And they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. Turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it. Walk in the presence of the light thereof, that thou mayest be illuminated.
So how do you get illuminated?
Keeping the commandments.
By keeping the commandments, right? The passport to the future is not going to get a miseducation at Esau's schools. Now, am I telling you don't go get a skill and learn how to do something? No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is this is not the passport to the future. This is the passport to the future of you as a slave. That's what it's a passport to the future. You really want to be illuminated, you really want to have a good education, you keep the commandments of God. That's how you do it, right? The Illuminati claim to be illuminated, but God tells you righteousness is the true illumination. You know? So we are the illuminated. We're the real Illuminati, if you could understand what I'm saying. Right? Ecclesiastes 12, from verse 12. Right?
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, and verse number 12. And further by these, my son, be admonished of making many books. There is no end.
Read that again. Wait, of what?
And further by these, my son, be admonished of making of many books. There is no end.
So and the Most High said, hold on. The Most High said of the making of many books, there's no end. Right? I want to watch this. How many books are published daily? Based upon a total annual number of 4 million books published each year, it can be estimated that almost 11,000 books are published daily. Read that scripture again, please.
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, and verse number 12. And further by these, my son, be admonished. Of making of many books, there is no end.
You see that?
And
there's the evidence of making of many books, there's no end. 11,000 books a day. 4 million a year. There's no end to the publishing of books. Go ahead.
And much study is weariness of the flesh.
What is much study?
Weariness of the flesh.
No, you're a genius.
Your flesh is weary.
You have a PhD.
Weariness of the flesh.
You're well read.
Weariness of the flesh.
All right. Go ahead.
Verse number 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Yahweh and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
See that? That's what you got something else there for me?
Well, no, it just says for Yahweh will bring every works into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. That's in the chapter.
Right. I put Leviticus here, but what did I call to you? Ecclesiastes.
Ecclesiastes.
Yeah. Right? So the education that really matters is not the making of the many books. The education that really matters is the good education of how to keep the commandments, how to treat your husband, how to treat your wife, how to grow your children, how to grow crops. You understand what I'm saying? How to keep the feasts of the Most High God. Do you guys realize Israelites knew how to read and write before likely all other what do you call it, civilizations, right? Likely before all other civilizations, but definitely before these Greeks, right? Right? Let me look this up. Literacy in ancient Israel. Now this may uh this may not bring up what I want, but we'll see. So up here they say total literacy rate of Jews in Israel in the first centuries, that's the first couple hundred years, was probably less than 3%. While this may seem very low by today's standards, it was relatively high in the ancient world, right? So we had really high literacy amongst our people, right? Even when they give us a low rating for literacy at that time, right? Remember, everything Esau tell you, you gotta take it with a grain of salt, because he's never gonna give the so-called black nation the true credit that we deserve, right? Study confirms widespread literacy in biblical period. So this is a scholarly website. Okay. All right. Researchers have analyzed 18 ancient texts dating back to around 600 BC from the Tel Arad military post using state-of-the-art image processing, machine learning technologies, and the expertise of a senior handwriting examiner, and concluded that the texts were written by no fewer than 12 authors, suggesting that many of the inhabitants of the kingdom of Judah during that period were able to read and write. Right? Literacy rates in the ancient world were very low. Less than 10% of the population would have been able to read and write. Only the wealthy were likely to receive an education. This is according to the University of Michigan, talking about Greek and Egyptian literacy rates, right? See here. Papyri show this wide range of literacy from people barely able to write their own name to professional scribes, writing swift and fluently, to fine calligraphic hands that were used for the books of antiquity. People who did not know how to write entered into agreements by having somebody who could write signed contracts for them. Okay. They proceed to say this is one beautifully written page of a codex. This is of the letter of Paul, containing letters of Paul to the early Christian church. The exact date is unknown. Some scholars believe them to be older surviving copies of these portions of the Bible. The quality of the handwriting demonstrates the work of a skilled professional scribe. This is an official list of names. It says a text from the archive of Petaos, a village scribe who did not know how to write. See that? Greek Ptolemies, all right? In Egypt, the Ptolemies were Greeks, just so you know, ruling in Egypt. We just finished reading about a scribe among the Hebrews that had a professional writing. And now it says here, we have a text from Petaos, a village scribe who did not know how to write, or at least not very well. In the Roman period, the office of village scribe was imposed upon men of some means, regardless of whether they could write or not. So once you were rich, even if you were illiterate, you still got the office. As is clear from the fluent handwriting of this text, Petaos employed a scribe to write it. His own lack of fluency can be seen in his signature, third line from the bottom, which is clearly the handwriting of somebody who was called a slow writer. All right. And this was a rich man. My point is this: a good education comes from studying the scriptures. You can teach your child math, law, writing, agriculture, butchering, you know, sewing, you name it. There are so many things that are crafting, you know, blacksmithing. You can teach your child so many things from the chronicles that our ancestors left in the scripture. You know,
what is that verse? Study to show yourself approved. What is it?
That is in Romans 3, I believe. Let me check. Romans 3.
2 Timothy's. Is that what
3?
it is? Number 2 and 15. Let me see. This is the book of 2 Timothy's, chapter 2 and verse number 15. Study to show thyself approved unto Yahweh.
Right.
A workman that needeth not be ashamed,
right,
rightly dividing the word of truth.
I can't do it. Right? So what's it encouraging you to study here?
The word of truth, scripture.
Study the scriptures, right? Again, are we telling you don't go get a skill in something that you're interested in? No. But we're telling you, at the end of the day, you're going to get a miseducation. Your kids are going to go to school. They're going to teach them that being a homosexual is correct. They're going to teach them Esau's history and culture. They're going to teach them Esau's philosophy of one love. You understand what I'm saying? It is up to us to give them a good education through these scriptures at home, right? And when we go to these institutes, you know, safeguard them well, make sure they already know the difference between right and wrong. And they go get what they ought to get from these places and be out, right? That's it. Moving on.
I think telling our story is very important. So if you only get one perspective all the time, you're just missing all those other shades of meaning, all those other perspectives. The catalyst for my mother writing her book, Island of Color, where Juneteenth started, is that she remembered and found a journal that her grandfather had kept. After he would say his prayers, he would write in this journal. He was writing about African American history going back to when he first came here in 1865. I think it's a treasure trove of information. Knowing one's legacy, I think, provides a sense of being grounded, a sense of belonging. It is actually foundational to our entire country because of its history of slavery.
Even though things are better, but there's so much more work to do.
With the George Floyd protests, probably more Americans came together of all races and groups than have come together in this country in a long time. Really, since the Civil Rights Movement, more Americans came together.
The 2020 murder of Houston native George Floyd and the conviction of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin led to global protests and reignited the conversation of police reform.
You saw white, you saw Asian, you saw Hispanic, along with black, screaming at the top of their voices that black lives do matter.
This bill is a bill that will speak to the hearts and minds of those who have been harmed by wrong kind of policing standards, and quickly, it will end racial profiling. It will provide training for the 18,000 police departments. It will ensure that there is a standard for excessive force no more. a duty to intervene.
The House of Representatives passed the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act in June of 2020. But as of June 2021, it has not passed the Senate.
Okay, family, let's touch on this. Right? What is the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act? Right? What is that all about? Notice they said it has not passed the Senate, okay? Though it passed the House, okay, if I remember correctly. Let's look at this. You guys can hear me and everything?
Con.
All right.
Con, yes.
So the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, named after the 46-year-old black man killed by Minneapolis police in 2020, it passed the Democratic-controlled House, right, in March 2021. But the negotiations broke down in the Senate soon after. Facing fizzled-out police reform efforts, President Biden last year signed an executive order with some initiatives similar to those in the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, right? So the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act that they were just talking about broke down in its negotiations and never passed the House. What does that mean? It never became law. A black man was choked out, right, over what, 9 minutes? Right? In front of the whole world to see. They told you more Americans came out to protest this than ever since the civil rights, right? But they didn't pass the Man's Act into law, even though it got past the first stage of being enacted into law, right? Let me read on. However, Biden's order so it says President Biden last year signed an executive order. Okay, so these are things that the president can just sign to say, listen, we're doing this and I don't care. I said we're doing it, so we're doing it. Okay. So he signed an executive order which had some initiatives similar to those in the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. Okay, so a couple similarities. Watch this. However, Biden's order applies only to federal law enforcement agencies. Like, what's one of the federal law enforcement agencies? Agencies in the U.S. U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Okay. Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, the Department of Justice, right? The ATF, right? U.S. Marshals, Department of Justice, Department of Defense, right? These are some of the federal law enforcement agencies. The FBI. Now, how often does the black man deal with the FBI? Right? Now, I know the black man deals with the ATF from time to time, but how often does the black man deal with the ATF? Who does the black man and black woman deal with the most in policing? Is it not the regular police officers, brothers and sisters? But,
Yes.
but Biden passed a law with a couple similar things that only affect the federal law enforcement agencies. And watch what they tell us in the article. And executive orders can be reversed by future presidents. So they don't even have to keep these things. These little similar things that they put in these agencies that are far from dealing with our people. This is after the whole country comes together to protest the murder of George Floyd. right? Why is this happening, right? No, well, before we even ask that, let's look let's look at the anti-Asian hate bill, right? Watch this, right? So George Floyd's bill did not get passed, right? And so-called black people being killed in North America in higher numbers than anybody else for, what are we in, 2023? For thousands of years now. Right? At least, what is it? Hold on one second. I don't want to miss speak. Let's go with 1619, right? Okay, for over 400 years now. Did I type the right thing here? One second. 1619 minus 2023. Yeah. Okay, so for over 400 years now, right? We've been killed in this place, and we can't get an anti black hate crime a bill, to pass into law. But the anti Asian hate crime bill passes the House. Okay, very nice. Legislation which the Senate overwhelmingly approved last month will next go to the president for his signature. And this was May 18th, 2021. All right, this story was released. Washington, the House on Tuesday passed a Senate bill with a 364 to 62 vote to address the rise in Asian hate crime during the COVID-19 pandemic. All right. And then it goes here to tell you a whole bunch of stuff about how they're getting hated on because of COVID-19. And here's the kicker right here. The bill which Senator Mazi D. Hawaii introduced in March alongside Rep. Grace Meng DNY also directs the Attorney General and Department of Health Humane Services to issue best practice guidance. Wasn't George Floyd looking for best practice guidance? Oh, they got best practice guidance on how to mitigate racially discriminatory language. They can't even speak about these people in a racially discriminating way in describing the pandemic. All right. So this is when it passed the House. It was March. Let me check my notes here. Yeah, March 2021. The president. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, it's funny. The only thing people are saying is just how nasty they are, and that they eat the most nasty.
That's it. We're saying
that's it.
Exactly. We're saying stop, eat rat and bat. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's a risky business. Oh man. But they get their thing past the House, right? And then look at them with Biden, right? This is 1 month later, 2 months later, brothers and sisters. Okay, because it passed the House in March, and then it got signed into law May 2021. 2 months. But Israel been waiting 400 years and can't get nothing put into the law to protect us. Right? Let's read a little bit of this. 2 months. That's beyond an insult. 2 months and how many millions of lives? How many of these Asians died, man? Because people were getting on them for eating rats and mice. And bats and perhaps being the origin of this damn pandemic. Following overwhelming support from both chambers of Congress, following overwhelming support from both chambers, that's the Democrats and the Republicans, President Biden signed legislation Thursday that addresses hate crimes throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, with particular emphasis on the increase in violence against Asian Americans. At an event in the East Room of the White House, Biden thanked lawmakers for coming together to pass the legislation, to pass the law, brothers and sisters. 2 months. 400 years. The Most I say, no matter how you pretty up yourself, they will seek your life. And they're not seeking the lives of others, but they're certainly seeking yours.
Again, they hold themselves not accountable, right?
They
what
kill you and they hold themselves not guilty. Bring it on. Right? While you're looking for it, go ahead.
It's Zechariah, I believe. Is that it? I'm looking for it. I'll find it.
Okay, while you're doing that, I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna just wrap up this portion here. He said, sorry, so at the event in the East Room of the White House, Biden thanked lawmakers for coming together to pass the legislation. He said, standing against hatred and racism, which he called the ugly poison that has long haunted and plagued our nation, is what brings Americans together. So let me just read that. He said, standing against hatred and racism is what brings Americans together. Standing against hatred and racism is what brings Americans together. He slickly put in the first Maccabees 1, 41 to 49 here, where he tells you all, let's all be one people. And he says he's fighting the isms and the schisms, which he's not. He's fighting it for everybody except Israel. It matters for everyone except Israelites. Right? That's the undertone of this statement. You know? My message to all of those who are hurting is we see you, and the Congress has said we see you. So the Congress passed the bill, and that means we see you. So if the Congress didn't pass your bill, you so-called Negroes, that means they don't see you. And we are committed to stop the hatred and the bias. They didn't sign your bill, so they're not committed to stopping the hatred and the bias against you. He said, right? And here's Biden's tweet himself. Hate has no place in America, and I look forward to making that clear this afternoon by signing the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act into law. But the niggers can't get nothing signed. Nothing, right? And it's only recently that lynching us stopped being a crime. They just changed the law. Lynching is now a federal hate crime after a century, 100 years of blocked efforts. The anti-lynching.
Is that in all states?
I don't know if it's enacted in all states, but it said the Senate passed an anti-lynching bill and sends federal hate crime legislation to Biden. Right? Let's see. After multiple failed attempts across 12 decades, there is now a federal law. Okay. It's federal, so it's across the country that designates lynching as a hate crime. Brothers and sisters, this was written in March 29th of 2022. So up to then, they could still lynch you legally. What's going on here? But you're celebrating Juneteenth and jumping up and down and eating pork like everything's good? Does that make any sense? You're free? Did you find the scripture, bro? Chris, did you find the scripture?
Yes, it's Zechariah 11:5, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty.
Hold on a second. Go from 4.
From 4?
Hmm.
This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 11 and verse number 4. Thus saith the Lord my God, feed the flock of the slaughter, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And they that sell them say, Blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not.
Right. That's it. Right.
They don't think they do anything wrong. That's why they're not passing no laws, no nothing.
Yeah, and to add to that, they're not passing any laws so that they continue not doing anything wrong. If you get what I'm saying. According to the law, they could have lynched you up until last year, man. And it's all good. You know? They're not passing no law to defend you from the police because they still need police to kill you. You know? And don't get tricked with the 1, 2 of them that they put in jail. Look at those 6 black guys that killed the other black guy. They fling them all in jail quick. The 6 black police officers that killed the black guy. They fling them in jail quick. You know? And I believe that was after they put this one white officer in jail, right? Which they recently started doing for killing a black man. They put one white officer in jail. They're like, oh, well, we got to take 6 of these black guys and throw them in there as well. Just to balance it out, you know? So our people are not too pissed off. We got to do the 1 to 6 ratio, you know? Why is all this happening? Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. Read from 1 to 11, please.
1 from 11? Okay.
Yeah.
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, and verse number 1. For the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not our right. Our life is short and tedious. And in the death of man, there is no remedy. Neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave. For we are born at all adventure, and we shall be hereafter as though we had never been. For the breath in our nostrils is as smoke, and a little spark in the moving of our hearts, which being extinguished, our body shall be turned into ashes, and our spirit shall vanish as the soft air. And our name shall be forgotten in time, and no man shall have our works in remembrance, and our life shall pass away as a trace of a cloud, and shall be dispersed as a mist that is driven away with the beams of the sun, and overcome with the heat thereof. For our time is a very shadow that passeth away, and after our end there is no returning, for it is fast sealed, so that no man cometh again.
So stop right there. The Most High is telling you exactly how the so-called white man thinks. And this is the same thinking that he has put upon all the heathen, and all of them and all of them accept the commandment of the king. This is it. Your life is a shadow. You just die and then nothing happens. You know? Life is short and tedious. How many times have we heard that phrase? Life is short.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the very beginning of the scripture, the Most High said the ungodly say this. They reasoning with themselves, but the reasoning is not right. And then he starts breaking down how they think. So all this reasoning is not correct reasoning. Right? Read on.
Verse number 6. Come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth.
Right. So they said, let us speedily use the creatures. What creatures? The people. Life is short No one's gonna remember what we do after we leave here. So let's just use people. That's what they say to themselves, man. Let's just use these people. And do we not see the evidence all around us that Esau just uses people? The old people get old, they get their pension. The pension is not enough. You have old people eating cat food. You know? He's gonna say here, they don't even respect the old people. They just throw them in homes. And whatever happens, happens, man. People are killing the seniors in homes. You know? Read on.
Verse number 7, let us fill ourselves with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass by us. Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they be withered.
Yeah, so do the YOLO thing. Just party it up. Party your life away. YOLO.
You only live once, yeah.
You only live once. Do it all. Go ahead.
Verse number 9.
No, you were gonna say something? Oh,
no,
okay,
I was saying the same thing. Yeah, you only live once, man. That's what they say.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Fast life.
Yeah.
Let none of us, verse number 9, let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness.
Mm-hmm.
Let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place, for this is our portion, and our lot is this.
So he's telling you, hey, all I have is this time on earth. So, throw up a statue here, put a monument there. That's all we got. We ain't got nothing else. After we disappear, no one's going to remember. Just, build this here and put that there. Maybe they'll remember us by that. Go ahead.
Verse number 10. Let us suppress the poor righteous man.
What the heathens, what the Edomites say?
Let us oppress the poor righteous man.
Right.
Let us not spare the widow.
Mm-hmm.
Nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged.
Hold on right there. Does this society respect the aged? Or are they telling you stay forever young? Is growing old seen as a good thing, or are they telling you stay forever young? Use anti-aging cream. If you eat this, if you drink this, if you exercise this way, if you take this pill, you're gonna stay young. They don't reverence the gray hairs of the aged. It's seen as disgusting to be getting old. It says they say to themselves, let us not spare the widow. When a woman don't have a man in the house, right? What do? Man, they destroy that woman's mind. They give her a little what do you call it? Bread crumbs. They give her crumbs. So she keep coming back for the crumbs, right? And she stay in a certain position in life to keep getting the crumbs. They don't have no respect for the widow, right? And when the man come around and he see a single woman, oh boy, it's a joy. Cause man, I could just hit that and keep it moving. That's the mentality that's taught. When a man see a widow, right? Man tell you, I don't want no woman with child, right? Instead of seeing how the Most High sees it, which is if you take care of widows and orphans, the Most High say that's a good thing. He tell you if the widow and the orphan cry out to him, it don't matter who you are, he gonna deal with your case. Don't let the widow and the orphan cry out to him against you, right? But the wicked say, don't spare the widow and don't reverence the old, the aged. What do they know? Now here's the kicker. This is why we can't get no laws. The brother's about to read the verse. This is why we can't get no laws to protect us. Go ahead.
Verse number 11. Let our strength be the law of justice. For that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth.
Read that again.
Let our strength be the law of justice. For that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth.
You see that? The wicked say to themselves, let our strength be the law of justice, because the thing that is feeble is worthless. The reason we can't get no protection from this man because of his laws is because he set up his laws to oppress you, and to him, you are worthless. That's what that scripture is saying. But that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. If you're worth nothing, what are you? You are worthless. Esau sees you as worthless. That's why you can't get no protection from him. That's why you can't get no equality with him. You guys see that? Right. Moving on.
Do you remember when Juneteenth became a state holiday in Texas?
Yes, under the direction of State Representative Al Edwards. He worked very hard to get it to become a state holiday.
I am so delighted to be in Galveston again. I'm overwhelmed at you young people who are willing to help us make Juneteenth a national holiday.
May 31st, 2021, 94-year-old Opal Lee, joined by a crowd with the Juneteenth flag in tow, doing her part to push for federal recognition of the historic day.
But I'm gonna make this 2.5-mile trek. I'm gonna keep on walking. I'm gonna keep on talking to Juneteenth a national holiday.
Affectionately known as Fort Worth's grandmother of Juneteenth. She goes across the country every year, walking.
You walked my shoes off last time.
And bringing awareness to the National Juneteenth Observance Foundation.
I'm wanting people to understand that it's just not a festival. There's so many more components to it.
Juneteenth is recognized on the state level in almost every state.
We took 1,500,000 signatures to Congress back in September, and we were so sure that we were on our way.
But the push to make it a federal holiday continues.
I just haven't given up. I just know it's about that time now that we're going to have Juneteenth a national holiday.
This is also the location of the first documented citywide celebration of emancipation that took place in Galveston. Over 800 people started a march at the old Galveston courthouse, and they marched here to the Colored Church on Broadway, Reedy Chapel AME Church.
In 2019, U.S. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee and U.S. Senator John Cornyn authored a bill for a federal study of the Emancipation Trail. It is a proposed 51-mile route from Galveston to Houston, marking the journey of Black families sharing the news of freedom. And it is based on research by Naomi Mitchell-Carrier.
It will be a heritage tourism attraction with sites along the way where people can stop and learn the history of those sites, the stories behind them.
I would like to welcome everybody to the oldest Black Baptist church in the state of Texas.
The next steps for becoming a trail includes public input for the various locations, but the COVID-19 pandemic put a hold on it. It is amazing.
Okay, brothers and sisters, so I just want to say, look at this, man. This lady, Opal, is willing to give her very life to get the Edomites to acknowledge this thing as a holiday, right? But she's wasting her time, right? She's gonna die probably doing this walk, and America don't care, you know. Give me Second Ezra's 6. Right? Opal is showing us really the mental state of Israel, right? And we're gonna address these two news anchors as well. In fact, everybody that was in this video and how they're showing us the mental state of our people and that it's not good. Go ahead.
Which verse?
Second Ezra 6, go from 54.
54.
Yeah. So Opal is busy, begging for Juneteenth to be a federal holiday, in the land of her captivity, right? For Esau to acknowledge that they were told that they were free. Was it 3 years late? 2 to 3 years late. They were told that they were free, and so now they want everyone to celebrate that Black people were told that they were free 2 to 3 years after they were free. How does that make any sense? That's oppression for you to be told late that you're free, and then for your freedom to look like prison, working for just food, no wages, right? Integration. That's what your freedom looked like. Being subject to payments, you know, but you're pushing for that day to be recognized when it's not a day of freedom at all. Right? Right? And you've come so low after being these people that God talks about in 2nd Ezra 6. Go ahead.
This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, and verse number 54. And after these, Adam also.
Sorry, read from 53.
53?
Yeah.
Verse number 53. Upon the sixth day, thou gavest commandments unto the earth, that before thee it should bring forth beasts, cattle, and creeping things. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen.
So everyone came out of Adam, and also the people, everyone alive today came out of Adam, and also the people that the Most High has chosen. Go ahead.
All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes.
Right. So the Most High made the world for the sake of his chosen people. That's what he said. Read on.
As for the other people, which also come of Adam,
right,
thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
So you see what the Most High thinks about other nations? The Most High say these people are like spit to him, like one drop that fall from a bucket of water. And I know when you spit on the floor, you don't think about the spit tomorrow or the next second. You spit on the floor and that's it. I know if you're carrying a bucket of water and one drop falls from the bucket, you didn't even look back to look at the one drop of water. That's how God thinks about most people on this planet. He only cares about the fate of his holy people, right? That's who he cares about. But his holy people who have such a high status before God are begging spit to acknowledge them. The world is backwards and upside down. The mind of the Israelite is backward, inside out, and upside down. And we need to fix it. Give me Isaiah 30. Please and thank you.
No problem. Verse?
1 to 7 and then 18.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 30, and verse number 1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin.
Well, stop right there. So the Most High say destruction to the rebellious children, Israelites, because they're taking counsel, but not from the Most High, from democracy, from the so-called white man. That's their counselor. His religion, his philosophy, his school, his mindset. They're covering with a covering, but not of his spirit. They're looking for Esau to give them laws for protection. You know, they're looking for Esau to acknowledge Juneteenth and make it a federal holiday so all Americans have to celebrate it. Nobody cares about you. That's what you need to realize. These people don't give a damn about you. And the Most High doesn't give a damn about them, so you shouldn't either. You're holy people. Worry about your people and who in the mirror. Principally, worry about who in the mirror. Secondarily, worry about your people, your family, and then your brothers and sisters, you know? Or your brothers and sisters really first in spirit, and then your flesh. You know, thus saith the Lord. Right? And he said they go and do all of that to do what? To add sin to sin. And that's what we've been seeing in this documentary. Sin added to sin. And as we conclude, we're going to point out all the off things that they did and that they've shown in this documentary, which we've been doing, but we're just going to summarize it and show you, like, at the end of the day, this thing is a big fat destruction. You know? Read on, brother.
Verse number 2. That walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth.
They walked to go where?
Down into Egypt.
And the lady Oprah was literally walking to DC. And she said they went with 1 million+ signatures.
When it should be 1 million+ swords.
Exactly. You go with 1 million+ signatures and you still get disappointed because you have no clue that no matter what you do, these people are going to seek your life. You have to separate from them spiritually, you know. Go ahead.
They walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh,
right,
and to trust in the shadow of Egypt.
The shadow of Egypt is America. That's the shadow of Egypt. That's why they have the pyramid on their dollar. That's why they have obelisk in the middle of was that is that Washington D.C.?
In Washington D.C., where they went and walked.
The big obelisk right there in the middle. You're trusting in the shadow of Egypt instead of the Lord. Read on.
Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion.
Your what?
Your confusion.
One more time, your what?
Your confusion.
And that's what's happening, man. Israel is totally confused. So that when you give them clarity, they tell you you're a madman. You're a mad woman. You know, you're a hater. You're a racist. You're a bigot. They have all kinds of words for you, right? Because they trust in the shadow of Egypt. They have taken the mark of the beast. Go ahead.
Verse number 4. For his princes were at Zoan, and his ambassadors came to Hanes.
Right.
They were all ashamed of a people that could not profit them.
The people could profit them?
Not profit them.
Right.
Nor be in help, nor profit.
Right.
But a shame, and also a reproach.
You can't even make this up. The Most High said, going to the so-called white man is going to be a shame to you and a reproach, man. Which it has been. And it will continue to be. Read on.
Verse number 6. The burden of the beasts of the south into the land of trouble and anguish, from whence come the young and old lion, the viper and fiery flying serpent.
Right.
They will carry their riches upon the shoulders of young asses, and their treasures upon the bunches of camels, to a people that shall not profit them.
So you're going to give these people everything, but they will be of no profit to you. Go ahead.
For the Egyptians shall help in vain.
Right.
And to no purpose.
Right.
Therefore have I cried concerning this.
Right.
Their strength is to sit still.
Israel's strength is to
sit still.
Sit still. Go down to 18.
Verse number 18. And therefore will the Lord wait, that he may be gracious unto you. And therefore will he be exalted, that he may have mercy upon you. For the Lord is a God of judgment. Blessed are all they that wait for him.
So you see why you have to sit still? Your sitting still is to wait for the Most High God, right? Don't go to Egypt thinking Egypt gonna give you what you want. You will never get it. That's the message. You'll never get the respect. You'll never get the love. You'll never get the acknowledgement. You'll never get the protection. You'll never get it. Wait upon the Lord. It said, blessed are they that wait for him. So once you're waiting for the Most High, you're good to go. You know, in your patience, possess ye your souls, thus saith the Lord. Right? Micah chapter 2. We on the what do you call it? We on the last lap. A couple more minutes, couple more scriptures, and then we're done. Give me Micah 2.
And what verse?
10.
10?
Yeah.
This is the book of Micah, chapter 2, and verse number 10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. Because it is polluted, it shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction.
Even with a sore destruction, right? And the Most High is talking about this place, man. You know, depart from this place, because it will destroy you. Give me verse 1 to 5, because that's really important.
Book of Micah, chapter 2, and verse number 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses, and take them away.
Right.
So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage.
So stop right there. The Most High is describing to you the so-called white man. He said a man lie down on his bed and think of evil plots. Remember, in another scripture that we quoted today, it tells you that his whole work is to oppress the poor righteous man. Right? Now, and here's a good precept. It tells you they devise iniquity and they work evil upon their beds. Right? Why? Because it's in the power of their hand to do it. Right? They are greedy for fields, people's land, and they take it by violence. And houses, families, tribes, and they take them away. And they oppress a man and his house and his tribe. Even a man and his whole heritage they oppress. Who else does this other than the so-called white man? Right? Go ahead. And what's their reward? Go ahead.
Verse number 3. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil,
right?
From which ye shall not remove your necks,
right?
Neither shall you go haughtily, for this time is evil.
So the Most High say you have an evil plan for these people that move like this, right? And you won't be able to recover when he put this plan upon you, and you won't be able to walk around proudly, which is what haughtily means. For the time is evil, it's upon you, and that time is upon them now, right? Just yesterday, I went out on road to preach the word with a brother, And it was bare Edomites lying down on the side of the road as bumps. I was so happy. I'm like, now is your turn. Feel it, buddy. You know? The Most High is bringing down the house of cards and there's no building it back up. You know? Go ahead.
Verse number 4. In that day shall one take up a parable against you and lament with a doleful lamentation and say, we be utterly spoiled. He hath changed the portion of my people. How hath he removed it from me? Turning away, he hath divided our fields.
So they themselves will have to say, look, the Most High changed the portion of our people. We had the what say in the book of Genesis, the dew. You will have the dew of heavens. That's what of the heavens. That's what the Most High told Esau, meaning all the fine places will be his, right? But a time is coming when they're gonna bawl and say, "Oh, the Most High have changed the portion of my people. How have he removed it from me? Turning away, he's divided our fields. It wasn't your field in the first place. You stole it, and that's in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. You're a thief. You know. Give me 5.
Verse number 5. Therefore thou shalt have none. Sorry. Therefore thou shalt have none that shall cast a cord by lot in the congregation of the Lord.
What does that mean? That means you people that move like this, none of you gonna you're not gonna have anybody that's gonna get land divided to them in the congregation of Yahweh. Because according to Ezekiel 47, the Israelites will divide Israel to the faithful strangers. They will give the faithful strangers that keep the commandments of God allotments of land in Israel, right? And right here, the Most I tell you in verse 5, this man that move like this will have no inheritance. Okay, when the cord is cast by lot in the congregation of the Most High, you're not gonna get anything. So this is a good precept to show you Esau can't get none of the kingdom. It's not for him. He's a thief, who devised iniquity on his bed. He took things when he had power. He oppressed a man and his heritage. He steal people's field, take people's things by violence. Now the Most High devise an evil against him that he's not gonna have no place in his congregation. He's not gonna have nothing, and there's no turning back, right? And that's why the Most High tell you in verse 10 what he tell you: depart. This is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sword destruction, right? Because these are the lands that these people stole. These are the fields that they coveted, and this is where they're coming down. So depart from them, you know. Give me Revelation 18.
Verse?
Go from 1 to 8.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 18, and verse number 1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
Right.
For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues.
See that? Come out of her, my people, so that what? You be not partakers of her sins. Right? So come out of the mindset of Esau. Release the mark of the beast and get the mark of the Most High God. that he tells you about in is it Ezekiel? Ezekiel 11:9? Hold on. Right? Read on, brother.
Verse number 5. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahweh hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. How much she hath glorified herself, and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. For strong is the Lord Yahweh, who judgeth her. And
That's
the
it,
kings
right?
of the earth.
Nope, that's all I want till 8.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. For strong, read that last verse again.
For strong is the Lord Yahweh, who judgeth her.
Right? That's why you gotta come out of her, because you won't be spared if you join yourself unto Esau. You know, if you keep his philosophies, if you have his mind, if you have his mark, you're going to die. Right? Which is what our people celebrating Juneteenth are showing that they have. They have the mark of the beast in their forehead. You know, this is Ezekiel 9, verse 4. It says, and Yahweh said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. All right, so what was happening there? The Most High sent 6 angels into Jerusalem because Jerusalem kept sinning against him. One of them had an inkhorn. He said, put a mark on the forehead of those that are sighing and crying for all the abominations, which means put a mark on the forehead of those that are disapproving of the abominations that are being done in Jerusalem. Put a mark on their forehead, right? So these guys are getting a mark on their forehead. Why? Because they're against sin. They're righteous people. And then as you read this account, it tells you that well, I'll read it. And to the others he said in mine hearing, go ye after him through the city and smite, meaning kill. Let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly, old, young, maids, little children, women. But come not near any man upon whom is the mark. Don't kill anyone who has the mark of God in his forehead. So are we looking for a man with an inkhorn to put a mark on our foreheads for us to be saved? No. We keep the commandments to be saved. So the mark of the beast that is on your forehead and in your right hand, right? It is not an actual inkhorn mark, but rather the breaking of the commandments, right? In your mind and then in your hand, which is your deeds. The right hand is used to do deeds, right? So let us not have the mind nor the deeds of Satan, you know, the people of the prince of darkness, according to Daniel 9 and verse 26. Let's not have this mind, but let us have the mind of Yahweh, Ba'asham HaMashiach Yahweh Shai, right? Let's have the mind of our King, the Most High God, via the Son, you know, Yahweh Shai, right? You finished 1 to 8, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I wanted to highlight something here. It says, her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High have remembered her iniquities. Where does it say come out of her? Yes. Verse 4. Come out of her, my people. Be ye not partakers of her sins. You see that? So that adds up. The Most High said, don't partake in her sins. Don't do it so that you don't receive the plagues. Because what? her chips in your right hand have reached unto heaven? No, her sins have reached unto heaven. And the Most High have remembered her chips in your right hand? No, the Most High have remembered her iniquities. Now, am I saying go get a chip? No, don't go get a chip. But the Most High is remembering the sins of the Babylonians. That's the mark that he's remembering, that he's going to punish them for, because that's the mark that he punished people for in the past, receiving the mark of Satan, which is sin, right? You're committed to sinning instead of committed to righteousness. So, in conclusion, what they have here. Let's see what these guys have to say.
Amazing, the history here in our backyard, and it's history you can experience anytime.
From Galveston to Emancipation Park, your journey starts now.
It's more than a hashtag. It's more than you just posting something on social media to recognize it. Whether it be volunteering at a local Black organization or just reading about Black culture and Black history, it's important to equip yourself with those resources to make sure that we're all coming together as one people.
My ancestors decided that they were going to build institutions, learned institutions, they were going to build religious institutions where we could worship, and they was going to provide a means for their family, no matter how tethered, no matter how abused.
We have to tell the story. If we forget our history, then our future is not a future at all. It belongs to someone else.
All right, so the brother is right. If you forget your history, you know, your future belongs to somebody else, right? And Israel has forgotten their history. And then when you tell Israel about their history, they don't want to hear it. They want to hear smooth words, right? As the Most High prophesied. This is Jeremiah 17, verse 4. And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee. And I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for you have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever, right? Which is why the Most High said the curse is going to be on you as a sign forever, right? Until you start keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God, right? So, in conclusion, what are the results of buying the Juneteenth lie of freedom? We get a population that's still in bondage carnally, right? Give me Deuteronomy 20 and verse 10, bro.
Of Deuteronomy chapter 20 and verse number 10. When thou comest nigh unto a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace unto it.
Read on.
And it shall be, if it make thee answer of peace and open unto thee, then it shall be that all the people that is found therein shall be tributaries unto thee, and they shall serve thee.
And they shall serve thee, right? Read 12.
And if it will make no peace with thee, but will make war against thee, then thou shalt besiege it.
Right. Give me, read on.
And when the Lord thy God hath delivered it into thine hands, thou shalt smite every male thereof with the edge of the sword. But the women and the little ones and the cattle and all that is in the city, even all the spoil thereof, shalt thou take unto thyself, and thou shalt eat the spoil of thine enemies, which the Lord thy God hath given thee.
Right. So the Most High show you the standard of war. You come, you proclaim peace, right? If they say, yes, it's peace, then they become tributaries unto you, right? They have to pay you taxes. And if they say no, well, you're going to make war, you're going to kill the men, you're going to keep the women and the children and all this stuff, okay? Which the Most High has given unto you. This is the standard of war. This is the law for war, the spiritual law for war, which is the highest law. This is exactly what happened to the so-called Negro. right? Because they didn't want to be the victors of the war, they became the spoil of the war. The men were killed, the women and the children were taken, all our stuff is taken, and we are tributaries unto our enemies to this day. So are you free? No, you're a servant, right? Because right here in verse 11 it says, where is it? And they shall serve thee. Verse 11, and they shall serve thee. This is the law of war. You understand? So right now we are serving our enemies, right? Therefore, automatically, we are servants, tributaries, slaves still, you know. Baruch 4.
Read where?
Hold on. I think it's 3. 1 second. Yeah, Baruch 3:8. Sorry.
This is the book of Baruch, chapter 3, and verse number 8. Behold, we are yet to stay in our captivity. Where thou hast scattered us.
Right.
For a reproach and a curse.
For
and
a
to be
what?
subject for a reproach and a curse.
Mm-hmm.
And to be subject to payments
Mm-hmm.
according to all the iniquities of our fathers.
Right.
Which departed from the Lord our God.
Right. That's it. That's all I want. So we are yet this day in our captivity, right? The results of buying into the Juneteenth fly, trying to look for unity with these people and all of this is we're still in bondage, you know? What else? Bondage carnally, sorry. What else? We're still in bondage spiritual as well, you know? Go to Romans 12. Verse 2.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 12, and verse number 2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God.
Right. So the Most High say, be transformed by what? The renewing of your mind. So the results of buying into the Juneteenth lie of freedom, and not just Juneteenth, but this lie that Esau tells about democracy giving you freedom, buying this lie produces carnal bondage, physical bondage, and mental bondage. And mental bondage is really spiritual bondage. You understand? Because when we're mentally bound, it produces people like the people that we seen in the documentary that we watched, right? You have this woman, the historian, she's a doctor, the bigger one, right? Her breasts out all over the place. She think that's okay, right? She's spewing nonsense, about how segregation was bad, you know. This is what mental bondage produces. It produces men with no beard on their face, pushing for unity and a park for all, like the guy there, the black guy, the news anchor. It produces our sisters trying to look and act like Edomites. Like the female news anchor. You know, this one love devil doctrine. You know, it produces political beggars, like the brother who had to beg for the mural and the plaque to go with the mural. You know, fornicators, fools, inmates. Who become chattel slaves again. Right? Being mentally bound produces slaves to sin. And that's what Juneteenth and these other so-called holidays are reinforcing. Mental slavery. Right? Which keeps you in the physical bondage. Right? Last scripture, Romans 6. right?
What
Romans
verse?
6, from 16 to the end, you're going to read.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 6, and verse number 16. Know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants ye are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death,
right,
or of obedience unto righteousness.
Right. So there's two servants you can be. You can be a servant of sin and you're gonna die, or you're gonna be a servant of obedience and you're gonna be righteous. Read on.
But Yahweh be thanked
Mm-hmm.
that ye were the servants of sin,
Mm-hmm.
but ye have obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine which was delivered you.
Right. So the brother said we used to be servants of sin. And it's sexy to be a servant of sin. You understand what I'm saying? For some of us, we look cool, we got big chain, tight clothes, everybody watching us. We have all the attention, you know. Some of us get a lot of money, you know. It's sexy to be a servant of sin. But when you lie down in your bed, it's not so fun. When you're alone with your thoughts, you know, and wondering about what's coming next and who your real friends are and who really loves you and all of these things, it's not so much fun, right? But in the public eye, it looks great. When we, drive out in our big car, it feels great, right? But in our moments of solace by ourselves, that's when we realize these things are worthless. You know? Read on.
Verse number 18. Being then made free from sin,
right,
ye became the servant of righteousness, the servants of righteousness.
Right. So this every time you see servant here, it actually says slave. Okay? So you were slaves to sin, and being free from sin, now you are a slave of righteousness. You see that? Nobody wants to hear that, right? But there's no freedom in this place. You're gonna be a slave to good or a slave to evil. So pick your shackles, right? One set of shackles turns into a glorious robe, and another set of shackles, I don't even want to see what it turns into, right? And we have to touch that scripture because that's a big scripture still. Go ahead.
Verse number 19. I speak after the manner of men because of the infirmity of your flesh. For as ye have yielded your members servants to uncleanness,
right,
and to iniquity unto iniquity,
right,
even so now yield your members servants to righteousness unto holiness.
So stop right there. The Most High is saying all your body parts, your mind, your head, your legs, everything, your privates. You used to use it for sin before, now use it for righteousness, unto holiness, right? Go ahead.
For when you were the servant of sin, you were free from righteousness.
Right.
What fruit had ye then in those things whereof ye are now ashamed? For the end of those things is death.
And that's a serious question. The Most High asked, what was the fruit of those things that you used to be doing when you were a slave to sin? What was the benefit? Write it down. Tell me. Ask yourself. Have that conversation. What really was the benefit of those things? Right? And the brother said, the end of those things is death, man. You know? Read on.
Verse 22. But now being made free from sin and become servants of Yahweh, ye have your fruit unto holiness, and the end everlasting life.
And the end what?
Everlasting life.
So being made free from sin, we became slaves to Yahweh, and we have the fruit, we have our fruit unto holiness, separateness, right? Difference from other people, and the end of that is everlasting life. We're gonna have something to show. We have something to show for our work, right? Life everlasting, right? Go ahead.
Verse 23. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of Yahweh is eternal life through Yahweh Shai Hamashiach, our Lord.
See that? And that's plain, right? So don't be a slave to sin, be a slave to righteousness, right? Because the wage of righteousness is eternal life, right? And the wage of sin is death, you know? The wages of buying into the mind of Satan through these things that look beneficial but really haven't benefited us, the wages of that is death and destruction. And we've showed that through the scriptures, right? So Juneteenth is a joke. All these people's holidays are jokes, you know. And the Most High said, learn not the way of the heathen. So let's keep his laws, statutes, and commandments, you know, and let that be our holy days. Because we don't need no holidays. We have holy days, and our holy days are better than the holidays anyway, you know. So with that, I'd like to wrap. I do have this one scripture that I think is really encouraging that I want to read, but that's that on the Juneteenth. But I want to leave you guys with this. Just 1 second. I'm trying to remember that scripture, Chris. You know the one I'm talking about?
Which one?
The scripture that says, when you first put on discipline, what's gonna happen? Ecclesiasticus 6. I got it. Ecclesiasticus 6. Let me see. From 18. So I'll leave you guys with this.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 6, and verse number 18. My son, gather instruction from thy youth up, so shalt thou find wisdom till thine old age. Come unto her as one that ploweth and soweth, and wait for her good fruits. For thou shalt not toil much in laboring about her, but thou shalt eat of her fruits right soon.
Yeah, hold on right there. So the Most High say, when you come get that wisdom, come as one that ploweth and soweth. Come ready to work, right? And you're gonna see the fruits of wisdom soon, right? Go ahead.
She is very unpleasant to the unlearned. He that is without understanding will not remain with her.
Right.
She will lie upon him as a mighty stone of trial, and will cast her from. And he will cast her from him ere it be long.
So the Most High said the unlearned hate wisdom, right? The wisdom to them is like a mighty stone that they're carrying, right? And they're gonna dash away the stone off of them before too long. Read on.
For wisdom is according to her name, and she is not manifest unto many.
You see that? So if you even catch some of this wisdom, the Most High have you in a high position, you know, because wisdom is not shown unto many. Read on.
Give ear, my son, receive my advice, and refuse not my counsel.
Right.
And put thy feet into her fetters. And thy neck into her chains.
So stop right there. We just read in Romans 6, the Most High said, be slaves to righteousness instead of slaves to sin. So what is wisdom? He's using this righteousness. That's right. He's using the same metaphor. Wisdom is righteousness, right? He said, put your foot into her fetters, man, and put your and put your neck into the chain of wisdom. Right?
Slave to her.
Become a slave to her. Nobody wants to hear that part, but it is what it is. Take the suffering because it will make you super. That's what you're going to learn here. Read on.
Verse 25. Bow down thy shoulder and bear her, and be not grieved with her bonds.
Hold on right there. This is very important. Don't be grieved with her bonds. Don't come and walk with the Most High and be like, oh gosh, I can't believe I have to do this. This is so hard. Why this? Why that? Why me? It's training. It's going to be hard. If you continue to examine yourself, you're going to make things a lot easier on yourself because you're going to see the things you're going through are for your own good. You need the training. Nothing happens by magic. You want to become fire resistant, you have to go in fire. You want to become you want to be able to take a hit as a boxer, you have to box and take hits. You know? You want to be a good long distance runner, you have to run long distance and fail. Feel like your heart's gonna jump out of your chest and push past that wall. Or sit down, lie down on the floor and feel like you want to give up and take 5 minutes, but then the next time you do it, you actually are able to push past that. I know, I've been there, I've done it. You know, go ahead.
Come unto her, verse number 26. Come unto her with thy whole heart, and keep her ways with all thy power.
Right? And that means come under wisdom, right? Come to righteousness with your whole mind. That's why I tell you, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Go ahead.
Search and seek, and she shall be made known unto thee.
Right.
And when thou hast got hold of her, let her not go.
Right.
For at the last thou shalt find her rest.
At the last thou shalt find her
rest.
Right. So after all the work, wisdom, righteousness is going to give you rest. And what's going to happen?
And that shall be turned into thy joy.
Right.
Then shall her fetters be strong defense for thee.
Right.
And her chains a robe of glory.
Right.
For there is a golden ornament upon her, and her bands are purple lace.
You hear that? He tell you take the chains and the fetters, and then he tell you what they really are once you learn a wisdom. And once you become accustomed to following wisdom, the fetters are a strong defense. The same iron shackle, when they try to chop you, you can block with it. You understand what I'm saying? The same chains is a robe of glory. You know? There is a golden ornament upon her, and her bands are purple lace. So it's not really a chain, it's purple lace. It's royalty. But you have to go through the refinement for it to turn into that. To strengthen up for you to see what it is you're really wearing. You know, read on.
Verse number 31. Thou shalt put her on as a robe of honor, and shalt put her about thee as a crown of joy.
Right.
My son, if thou wilt, thou shalt be taught, and if thou wilt apply thy mind, thou shalt be prudent.
Right.
If thou love to hear, thou shalt receive understanding, and if thou bow thine ear, thou shalt be wise. Stand in the multitude of the elders, and cleave unto him that is wise.
Right.
Be willing to hear the godly discourse.
Every godly discourse.
Every godly discourse. And let not the parables of understanding escape thee.
Right.
And if thou seest a man of understanding, Get thee, betimes unto him, and let thy foot wear the steps of his door. Let thy mind be upon the ordinances of the Lord, and meditate continually in his commandments. He shall establish thine heart and give thee wisdom at thine own desire.
Amen.
Amen.
That's it, man. That's all I got for you guys today. Yeah, that's all I got, man. Any questions, comments?
All praises.
All praises. Everybody good?
Yeah.
All praises. That's it, man. So be encouraged. I pray you guys have a great Sabbath. Rest of the Sabbath, I'm here. If you guys need to talk or whatever, holla at me. Yeah, but enjoy the Sabbath. Rest, relax, party up in righteousness, turn up. It's the Most High's holy day, have a good time, and that's it.
That was good. It was
All
a good.
praises. All praises. Thank you, Queen Key. Thank you, sis.
There was a psychologist talking about it, and he was talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
It was a professor.
Yeah. And he was saying the same thing.
Yeah, don't choose conformatism or integrate.
Yeah. All praises. Yeah, the Most High wisdom is high, man. His wisdom is high. They come to the same conclusions. It's whether or not they decide to tell us,
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. Well, all praises, you guys. Have a good one. And
Happy
we'll
Sabbath,
see you guys.
everyone. Happy Sabbath.
Happy Sabbath.
Happy Sabbath.
Yeah, all right. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, bless.
Thanks.